Welcome back, Planeswalkers, to another episode of the Hive Mind. My name is Jon Dunning. This is the show where I traverse the multiverse in search of other prominent members of the Magic the Gathering community. And while you're out traversing today, why don't you head on over to cardsphere.com. That's right, cardsphere.com is simply the best place to buy, sell, and trade your paper Magic the Gathering cards online. While you're out traversing, head on over to inkedgaming.com, enter promo code HiveMindMTG to receive 10% off your purchase. If you'd like to listen to this in podcast form, head on over to constructedcriticism.com for the podcast form only. And one more place, if you would like to directly support the show, go ahead and become a patron at patreon.com. Support the show and all the cool things that we're doing over here on They Said We Said, including the Hive Mind 10th Street Hooligans and all the other stuff we have going on. But without further ado, planeswalking in from probably the furthest reaches of the multiverse that we've ever pulled from before, from all the way from Norlland, Sweden, I have the self-proclaimed token artist, A. Lundell, also known as Ishton. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Oh my
I'm super grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful, man. You are, of course, in this community, just a fantastic artist. I when I told the people closest to me, you know, like your Tarmo Cats, like your Cody Smiths from Fishin, they were so stoked that you'd be planeswalking and chatting with me.
Yeah, it means a lot to hear that. Like, it really does. It's such a great thing to hear, because I've been trying myself to really become like a positive energy in the community as much as I can, you know. So it's like nice to hear that people do get excited about stuff like this.
Official face reveal too?
I did like when my partner Malky from Twitter was visiting in December, I think, was the first time I did a face reveal, as in like I just took a casual photo of myself, you know, waiting for the bus to pick her up. And I think that was like the first face reveal. But this is the first time people get to see my face move.
That is very important, yes. It sounds so trivial, but what's the weather like over there? You know, that's always like a big thing to me.
Yeah, that's actually like an interesting question, because it do matter a bit, like when you ask someone from the south and someone from the north. As I'm from the north, we have a different sort of climate, because we have a lot longer nights during the winter, but longer days during the summers. I mean, we're kind of like, just last week it started thawing, and we were actually expecting to have snow all the way to May, actually, because that's not unheard of. Like, I think last 2 years ago there was like snow in all throughout April, and then it starts thawing till summer hit. So it's like, it's kind of nice, you know, like the sun is up a lot more, you know. Not only that, but like the big thing a lot of people have probably heard of is that we, like, when we're in from the north, our sun rarely set during the summers. Like, we have some midnight suns at times, and even further up, I'm kind of like in the middle of the north, but even further up the sun never sets. So it's like you have a 24-hour day, but during the winter you have like a 24-hour night, and that's horrid, I've heard. So it is a good question, you know, like, how is the weather?
Yeah, especially awesome as that. How does it sound? It sounds similar kind of to the Alaska over here in the States.
Yeah,
where it has that like 90 days of winter, of like night, and then of daytime. So that's gotta mess with your sleep schedule a little bit too.
Oh yeah. Like I said, when my partner was visiting, she visited the first time in summer, and she's from Mexico. She had so much trouble sleeping during the summer because the sun was up. You know, we had to like really cover the windows, and then during the winter, she was kind of like on low energy because we didn't have any sun. And it's one of those things, like, I myself have lived through this all my life, so you never think about it, how such a like nature shock it is for people, you know, visiting. Like, it was I remember when I was visiting in Florida, and I was kind of like shocked how quickly it turned into night. Just, you know, oh, it's just like that, you
know. Big plans to come back out towards the States, hopefully maybe in the Seattle area next time?
I maybe, actually. Like, I've been planning a lot more about like traveling and stuff, and, you know, actually going to bigger events. There's this big Nordic championship in Modern, for example, now in May, along with Norlland, which is another huge convention, but it's still in Sweden. But hopefully I'm gonna like try to reach out first off to Europe, traveling to Denmark, England and stuff like that, and then definitely go visiting in the US, because I've had some people actually like ask me if I ever go to the US, so I've been considering it.
Excellent. And I won't make a Florida joke. I'm just like, oh, the place that you got to come is Florida. No, I was joking. Florida. There's plenty of cool spots in Florida, so I'm not going to talk crap or anything. So
it's the one place I did visit when I visited the States. So
yeah. So you're like, oh, so I have no plans to come back. No. No.
I was 10.
Before we get to your Magic origin story, I would like to know, Ishton, what is the largest way that Magic the Gathering has affected your life in a positive way?
Oh, yeah. Like, the thing with... I was very, like... I wouldn't say, like, outside kid or anything like that, but, the classic story, you were kind of, like, by yourself at school and stuff. It's like the one generic story I kind of hear, like, but it's a good story anyway. Like, you hear people talk about, like, oh, I was sort of sitting by myself and stuff. And like the thing is, like, Magic itself did develop my way of like making friends, because when I have only been playing for like since when Core Set 15 came out, I think it was.
Okay.
Like, I think that was when. And the thing is, like, prior to that, I didn't really meet friends in real life. I didn't have much friends in real life. So I think, like, the one thing that Magic did a lot for me, like, I could say that, it's improved my art, it pushed myself. But I think the most important thing is has you feel as a person rather than what you produce as a content creator. So I would say, like, the one thing that that Magic really influenced me is like making sure I can get friends in real life, have a way to talk to people, because I was really bad at it before I played Magic.
This game, that's the greatest thing about it. That's why we're talking about this and not other games, is because it brings people together, whether it's hard for them to for people to make friends or it's not, but it always like brings everyone from every corner of the world and every kind of different walk of life together and to kind of break the ice, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's and what I really like about it is that it's so focused on being positive about things. Like, sure, there's people that would make a living of criticizing the game and attacking like the game mechanics and thinking that Magic was better before. But I still think that, like, the majority of people really feel happy when they play Magic. They feel happy talking about Magic. Like, no matter what, if they're criticizing the game or anything, like, they're still part of the game and they still have like a passion for it. Otherwise, they wouldn't talk about it. And it's so nice, because I can't really see it in much other things. Like, I can't really see it in some other game. Like, I used to play another card game, and it was like, no, like the community there wasn't like accepting in the same way that Magic community is.
For sure. So what was that initial spark, so to speak? What is your Magic origin story?
Oh, this is actually a fun story. So I think it was around 2011 or 12. Like, if we go way back, I remember when I was young, like really young, and there was this I think it was like a fantasy comic book, like that my brother had bought, my older brother, and I think it was like one of those like really cheap ones, and I looked at it and I saw this massive djinn. Oh god, I can't remember the name. Is it Mahatma? The one that's like rising up from the desert,
Yeah, Muhammad. I always call him Mohammedan. I think it's like Mahamodi or something.
Yeah,
But
I saw that one, and I was so awestruck at it. Like, oh wow, this is really telling a story of this little person in front of it, and this massive djinn rising up. And that was kind of like the first time I remember when I wondered, what is Magic the Gathering? Like, what is it inside? And like fast forward a little bit. Again, this was like when I was, I don't know, like 10, maybe like 7, 10. There was this friend I had who had this birthday party, and kids running about and stuff. And the thing is, like, us Swedes actually, we have English as a mandatory subject in school. So like parents often like gave them video games and stuff. That was rarely any problem. And I remember my friend, he got a pack of Magic cards, and I think it was like the cannibal zombie, maybe it's called, like. And I remember that one was also like very like, oh my god, this is creepy, it's kind of cool. And that was like my two earliest moments. Fast forward to 2011, I was at this big manga convention. Like, I was a bit of like a manga enthusiast back then, and my friends were walking about, and then I like kind of got by myself, and I went to this card game store because I used to play another card game, and I bought a fat pack. Well, not even a fat pack. I think it was one of those like dual starter kits, like with a bunch of lands and stuff. And that was like when I got the like first real impression of Magic as a card game. I remember that I got Flayer Husk. That was like the one card I remember most. And ever since, Flayer Husk has been like one of those cards I can't look back at without smiling, because it was really nice. And then we jump even further. I didn't do anything with the Magic cards. I didn't play anything. But then we jump forward to like, I can't remember the year, but basically I learned that a bunch of my friends were playing card games down at the town I lived at that time, my hometown. And I went there, and I was playing this other card game, and I'm avoiding saying the card game's names because I actually have some like problems with the card game. But anyway, they were like playing this card game that I played, but then I saw like a lot of the others were playing Magic as well. And eventually I started getting like more and more interested in the Magic lore and everything. I remember my friend asked me like, what are your favorite Magic colors? And I just remember like way back when I learned about the Eldrazi, because it was like the fat pack or dual kit or what it's called contained some Eldrazi cards, and I just couldn't like give a good answer. So I just replied like, I love colorless. And fun story there, it led to my friend showing off like Planeswalkers. I was really awestruck at Planeswalkers. I was really into Planeswalkers. Like, I love the idea of them. I love how they felt personal to each player. And then my friend was like, did you know there's a colorless Planeswalker as well? And that was Karn Liberated.
Absolutely.
And give it some time. I was playing like this colorless mirror, not colorless. I played this blue-white mirror deck and modern, and eventually like I started playing standard. I played Raphael Levy's Grand Theft Ashiok deck. I remember that one. And eventually I got a modern deck, and that was of course Tron, and I got to play Karn.
Nice.
And it felt amazing, really, really amazing. And I think that's like in general. There's more stories to it, of course, but I think that's like the general storyline of how I got to Magic. And then I moved to this town I'm in right now, and I played more Magic. I qualified for nationals and stuff like that, and it was really nice.
What's your favorite iteration of Tron?
Oh, I think like nothing can beat the old one with Ivugin, Like I think that's like the perfect, like everything in the deck like aligned itself perfectly to each other. Like, oh, when you get Tron, you can just use the land search to get Ivugin, get Emrakul. It's like a perfect lineup of cards, just 7 everywhere.
Modern and Tron and all that, but what is your favorite format now? And is Tron, or not Tron, but is Karn still hold up as your favorite card of all time?
Yeah, like sadly enough, I had to like sell my cards because I didn't have to sell them, but basically I wasn't playing Tron at the time because it couldn't live up to what it felt like back then. The nostalgia of it. Like my favorite format in general, I think, would be. That's the thing. Like it always depends on the season. Like
Sure.
standard is the one that like it's kind of like more grounded. You don't meet stacks decks, you don't meet prison decks, you don't meet combo decks that goes off on turn 3. So it's like you get to play a bit more Magic in that one, I feel. Compared to modern, even though I love modern, like I just played modern before I got on this stream after all, and went 3-0. So the thing is, I feel like modern is the one format. No, I would say standard is like that format I prefer, like, but again, it depends on the season. Sometimes standard can be like not fun at all. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it does have those ebbs and flows. Were you impressed by, because I don't think you were playing when like original Ravnica was out, or I don't know if you were playing during the whole RTR, like Return to Ravnica with M13. That was my favorite format of all time. But what do you think about this current format right now?
I think standard is really healthy right now. I wouldn't say there's any like there's this Nexus of Fate in standard. Sure. And one can see like, oh, it's so toxic, it's so poisonous to the player base. But again, we also got a mono blue deck that just wrecks that deck. And I feel like when a format has a lot of like monocolor decks, I feel we do have a sort of a variation, and we get like people can adjust their mono white decks to add like red for Frenzy or blue for Detention, what's called Detention Deputy. So like even if we have Nexus of Fate in standard, and it does entail to a sort of, hey, let's play something degenerate. I used to play like Nexus of Fate a lot because I sometimes I just like playing degenerate stuff,
Yeah, we all go a little mad sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like my friend who's a judge have this joke that I am now only allowed to play degenerate decks. Awesome. But yeah, like I stopped playing it because I just didn't think it was fun enough, because I'm always at the events, hosting the tournament. So I figured like, okay, I'm not gonna be showing off this really annoying card, have people sit like this, waiting for me to finish.
Sure. The turnout, I guess, in your LGS in that area.
Yeah, like it's really amazing, because I think it's only been once we have had 3 rounds in standard in the last half year, like the turnout for standard is amazing, and same as the modern, I mean, sure, I think a lot of people right now like bundling up, preparing for Modern Horizons, waiting to bring out their decks, waiting to get a new deck. Like even tonight, I was expecting like, oh, we're gonna have like 3 rounds of Modern, I think, and turns out we had 4. so that's something as well. Like we have each Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, and often the Saturdays are always standard, and they are always like 5 rounds. So that's really neat.
You qualify for nationals. Is that something that you kind of want to pursue? Maybe a competitive kind of sub-career?
The thing is, like, it was, I think it was like between that little area of when nationals wasn't like the official thing Wizards enforced. Like, I can't remember it completely, but basically we had these nationals with a team tournament, and there was this huge. This was before. I'm gonna say basically a lot, because that's how a lot of us non-English speakers tend to like reset. Sorry about that, but
no, it's totally following you, sir.
But there was this like 2 years ago, I think, when Kaladesh just no, there was like when the second set, Aether's Revolt came out. I was playing Sahil Rai combo. And, this was before I had actually moved here, but I went from my town here to, play. And we were expecting like, oh, it's going to be a fun little tournament, and the top 4 is going to qualify for team tournament at the nationals, And it turns out it was like, I think we had 55 people visiting, for that event. and I managed to win the entire event. But like I said to my friends, it was only because I was like the one person who was playing Sahili Rai. Like even if I had like a bunch of people coming in from other cities. But in general, I won't say like I would want to pursue Magic as a professional career. I like playing competitively because it's a nice change of pace in like what I do essentially every day, like drawing and stuff. And then I can go like push myself a bit doing competitive Magic, or like having to think harder, and like kind of like going up against the computer chess, chess computer, like but you meet people, you have more fun, it's one of those things, like. But if I like qualify for stuff, I would probably go,
In addition to being a Magic player and a darn good one, it sounds like, you're also a judge. What made you want to participate in the judge program?
Oh, that's actually like a really easy question. It started out before I was living here, and my level 2 friend, my judge friend, he was going out like, oh, I'm gonna be like opening for when I'm a level 2, I'm gonna open up for application for level 1 so I can like qualify them. And I just thought like, hey, that could be like a fun thing to do. And the main reason why I wanted to do it was because I wanted to help people. I know a lot of people go into the judge program to like get extra cards or something like that, or I hope nobody goes into like get more power over others. But my goal was simply just I want to help people, and I want to learn the rules so I can help people a lot more. And like my friend said, like it took a long time before I actually did the test, but he said like I already qualified a year ago, like at minimum a year ago, because I already filled out everything that a judge needs to know, and I do everything that a judge do on tournaments.
That's awesome.
So it was like that little extra step, just taking the test,
that you actually are using it to help people. Because you do hear those stories of more nefarious reasons to want to join a program that's not always had the best stories behind it or whatnot. There's always that kind of black eye on the whole Magic Judge program. But just the fact that you and I have heard and known other people like yourself that do legitimately like to explain the game, know the game, because it does. The more people playing the game, the more people more informed about it, strengthens the game and the health in the future of the game that we love. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Yeah. So let's talk about your let's shift focus a little bit. Let's talk more about your origins as an artist. What age did your artistic spark ignite, and what inspired you to kind of pick up the paintbrush?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think I can't remember when I started drawing. Essentially, like it was my parents that told me these stories. Like, oh, you like to sit around and paint with a brush and stuff. Like like a little kid, just splotting on the canvas. But the thing is, like later on, I started like really loving Legos and stuff, and it became sort of like I have this like I never really used the official Lego stuff. I just built my own stuff. And I think that's like kind of what inspired me into like making my own stuff rather than taking in other stuff. And I had these little characters and stuff, like I built my own robotic, like semi-tall Lego robotic thingies, and I made little stories with them. And I like realized, oh wait, I can just, instead of just drawing on these, I can just building on these, I can just draw them, and have this little story thing. I even made like a couple of comic books as a kid, like really badly drawn, of course, but it was like I had stories and everything. So, and then like one thing led to another, and I started drawing more and more,
That's something that you pursued in school as well, or just kind of more of a self-taught practice?
No, I mean, it's kind of like a hard question to answer, because when I was young, I usually like doodled a lot in the math book and stuff, on the fucking on the desk and stuff, and like Yeah. Like then later on when I went to, I'm trying to like figure out like which is the equivalent of like schools. When I went to
yeah.
Like first grade school was like when I just doodled, you know, and just learn math and stuff. And then I went to high school, and my pursuit was in arts. You know, I went to the arts and craft course. But the thing is, like, it wasn't like as focused as I was. Like the teachers, sure, they just gave us like a couple of like assignments, but I actually like really wanted to push myself. And in the end, I actually got a diploma of it. Like diploma of art excellency or something like that, and I got some like funds for it because I really pushed myself into providing artworks all the time. So it's kind of like, sure, the school kind of gave me an opportunity to be creative, but I think I like kind of went ahead like before them, which is kind of funny to looking back at.
Well, I mean, your stuff is one of a kind. I mean, your pieces are stunning. The colors are so vibrant. The contrast is like, in your work, it's just so pronounced. What inspires you to pick to choose your color palettes that we see in your work?
Yeah, like it's so funny when like people ask me that a lot. Like people ask me like, what is my thought process? What is my way of tackling an image or something like that? But usually I just wing it, you know. Like I've been doing it for a long time, and eventually you start seeing like what looks good, you know. I think there was like an art friend of mine who just said like the best critique you could have, or like the best critique you can give yourself is just, does this look okay? Mm-hmm. Like if you really look at it, like, and really look at like, oh, this arm looks kind of wrong, or this lighting looks kind of wrong. You kind of have the insight of changing that, and then you change it. And then when you're happy and people couldn't give you a critique later on, that's when you know that you can improve on those areas. So it's kind of hard to say, but essentially it's just like I wing it. I wing it all the time. Like sometimes I look at like references and stuff. Like I had this piece that was set in a winterland, and you know, it was kind of like close to home, you know, and we had the aurora lights in it. Problem with the aurora lights and general lighting in a snowscape is that it's always dark, you know, like like when you're out in the winter land, you know, here in the north, it's gonna be dark all the time in the snow. Like there's not gonna be any like reflection or anything, it's just gonna be dark. So it was one of those things where I had to like I was tackling basically reality versus clarity. And that's something I think a lot of people need to do when they're painting. Like, do I want to make it realistic, or do I want to make it like clarify that, you know, this person is visible and stuff? But in the end, I think I managed to actually pull it off, thankfully.
It's just, your work is so clean. It just has this pop to it that it's like some of your pieces. And one of my favorite ones that I was like flipping through is this. I think it's a D&D character, like a devil-ish female, and it's just the reds. It's just like the juiciest red, if for lack of a better adjective. It almost makes you like. It almost made me like want to eat it like a candy. Like it's incredible. It pops off the page. So I mean, whatever winging it is working for you, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad. That was actually a really fun piece to do as well, because it was one of those. Sometimes I do these pieces of like, hey, I want to reset myself and just draw something that's like easy and, you know, calming. So I'm glad that you love it.
Everything that you do just pops off the page. So let's talk a little bit about your character designs. You focus a lot on strong female characters, exotic ethnic subjects, numerous animal humanoids. What is your muse as far as picking these incredible characters to bring to life?
Yeah, like it's a fun story regarding the female characters, for example. Basically, when I use a lot of my time to create these magic characters, like fan characters, just because I want to see what I can do as a character design as well, since I've gone to comic school a couple of years. I should probably have mentioned that before, but yeah, I tend to just, you know, want to see what I can do with myself, like see if I can challenge myself to create something that hasn't been like overly used in media or comics or anything. So like when I started out, I started making these first 5 main color characters, and I realized like, oh, they're all females. But I think like I realized that when I was like 5 characters, like 5 more characters in, I realized like, oh wait, all of these are females. And at that time, I just felt like, okay, I might as well just do this. It's no like real deep thought process behind it, other than me just wanting to draw what I want to draw. And I feel like it's kind of like I've had people come to me and be like, hey, why are you drawing only females, or why are you drawing mostly dark-skinned characters? But the thing is, like, it's just because I draw what I want, as in like what I want to chance myself of what I haven't seen, and I feel like Magic, for example, is really good at it, because if you actually look at like a lot of the current art, you see a lot of more like female protagonist, or like darker skinned protagonist, or characters that has like homosexual relationships. All of that just like neatly fits in. A lot of people miss it, and hopefully like most of the people that miss it are people that tend to like complain about it anyway. But I also feel like it's a normalization of how we can perceive fantasy art, and I kind of feel Magic itself gave me sort of the push of, hey, I'm just gonna draw like what I want to draw and what I haven't seen that much of. And like regarding the like animal featuresque, I think it's just because I like to not draw humans. Like none of my Magic characters are actually humans. Like all of them have this like some are kitsunes from Kamigawa. Someone's a kobold from Dominaria, and it's just because I want to push myself. Like humans tend to be boring at times.
You're not wrong there. No,
I see them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love your take on the female form. It's just something that you don't see. Specifically, the avatar that you've chosen to take on for yourself is this goblin-esque character that's throwing the spell bomb. Yeah.
That's actually. Yeah, exactly. That's actually one of the earliest characters I made, and she was actually like Easter egged in the official Magic story at some point. That was actually like really nice to hear, because I myself didn't notice it, but I had people come to me and be like, "Oh, this character," and I think that was because I did a like kind of like love letter piece to Kaladesh, as in like I was really excited about Kaladesh, and I still am. I still love Kaladesh because I love the theme of like creativity and people enjoying the creativity. So I made like a sort of like small comic of it, and I think like someone at Wizards liked it.
I have to agree with you. I love the aesthetic of Kaladesh, and I love the message and the theme. Not so much the card design.
No. Like I've said to my friends, like, oh, turns out making a set based around a colorless permanent type tends to go a bit off the rails.
It really does, and I'm as old as rock, so I lived through the Mirrodin, the original Mirrodin, the Scars of Mirrodin, so I could see how in the Urza saga, even though it was more of an enchantment matters block, it was called the artifact cycle. So I think even putting the word artifact in your cycle screws up the entire dichotomy of what you're trying to do. So yeah, like everyone's like, oh, Kaladesh, and even like when they, I've told this story a couple times now, where I was looking at my phone for the spoilers for War of the Spark, and I look at the Tezzeret, I'm like, God damn it, are you serious? Like you put affinity on there, like oh my god, and then like spoiled. I'm like, what are we doing? It never turns out well.
Yeah, like when I saw the affinity on Tezzeret, I was like, here we go again, I guess.
Going back on track, so to speak, personally a huge fan of landscapes. I love the art for land, for dual lands, for especially basic lands. What my eye tends to get pulled towards. And you do landscapes extremely well. Again, using that contrast where you get these like dawn and dusk kind of pops in the artwork at in contrast to the actual land itself. How do you transfer yourself into these artificial realms and planes of existence and make your audience truly feel like they're really standing in these spaces?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question as well, because compared to the south of Sweden, the north actually has a lot of like, we have the nature, we have the forest, we have the the mountains. Like when I lived in Malmö a couple of years, there was like no mountains or anything. It was just a clean slate everywhere. And like when my partner was visiting, she commented on how like beautiful just her backyard is. And I think like that kind of subconsciously gave me sort of like a way of normalizing a grand landscape in a way, and what to place myself in those landscape, and try to like, oh, like if you look over there, you're gonna see like more mountains lining itself up like further on. There was actually like one. There was a token I made that was actually like I had to do it like really quick for Belfer Zendikar, and I just took a photo of my backyard and placed an Eldrazi in it. I don't think the token actually went up anywhere, but it was like really fun to do, and that is actually like a technique I want to do a bit more, like taking some couple of photos and just collaging them together, because then you can get like a fun texturing. In general, I think it's like I've grown up in nature, so I kind of have a sense of nature. I have a sense of like what I want from the nature. Some of my pieces are a bit like, they're kind of cheap done. Like some like whenever I paint swamps, for example, just practice painting, I always tend to just have them like purple hued and stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of that. Like I did some like snow covered swamp at some point that I was like really happy with, but I think that was because I'm from the north, so I know how like swamps actually look when they're frozen over and stuff.
I swear to God, I was just about to say I want to see that when they do bring back snow-covered lands. I want to see you do the snow-covered land.
It will be amazing. It's a bit of a dream of mine, actually.
Let's talk about the kind of the business side of it a little bit. I know you freelance making art for other content creators, namely someone again that's near and dear to my heart, and that's Cody Smith from Fishin Merfolk podcast. Has really displayed your art over everything.
Code is amazing. Code is amazing, I have to say.
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. Fun to talk cartoons with if you ever get a chance.
Absolutely.
Tarmo Cat was wearing one of your T-shirts on her episode of the Hive Mind, and then also you work with Cardamajigs. So and of course you also have your own patron as well. So do you think starting out as an artist, when you started out as an artist, did you ever think that, wow, I could really be not only great at this but actually making a living at this as well?
The thing is, like, when I again, I went to comic school a couple of years, I was kind of like looking at myself sort of like building up to a point where I would be working within comics. And I had this comic where it is connected. I had this comic, I wanted it to be published, but it didn't go anywhere. Like, I had to self-publish it. The thing is, I then started doing a webcomic, sort of. Again, this is all up building up. I started doing a webcomic that was like something I did just for fun. And then I got contacted by a friend like, hey, you can upload this to a site that used to be called Ink Blazers. Or like, back then it was called Manga Magazine, and then it was called Ink Blazers. And there's at least a site where you got paid for doing webcomics. Like, became kind of like, it was sort of like YouTube, you got like different tiers and stuff. And I think it took me a month before I reached the top tier of the webcomics on that site. And that's when I started making like actual money from it. And I think that was the first time I actually realized, like, hey, I can actually make a living of this. Sadly enough, the site itself had to shut down, like, I think it was 2 years after I reached my tier goal.
Yeah, of course, right?
But that was kind of like when I realized, like, hey, I can do this online, So I started doing a Patreon, and back then people pledged for that comic, and eventually, like, the comic got put on a hiatus because I had other stuff going on at the time, But then later on, when it was around the Shadows over Innistrad, I sort of jumped into doing like. Hey, I am gonna do more like fan art of Planeswalkers and stuff. My first Planeswalker fan art was actually of Arlen Cord, and I remember that ones like went really popular really fast, and I just received a lot of like folders and stuff, and I kept doing like fan art stuff. I did some couple of comics, someone about like Tibalt being the great evil that's on Shadows of Innistrad. And like eventually one thing led to another, and people started pledging more and more. And as of right now, I'm doing a webcomic, a Magic fan comic, as a matter of fact, on my Patreon. That's sort of like, I want it to be more of a alternative to the Magic story, like the official one. It's kind of like the Great Lake Avengers version of the Gatewatch, I would say.
That's awesome.
Yeah, something like that. Like they're not the serious bunch. They're not the brooding bunch. They're kind of like the two main characters are roommates. A goblin and a merfolk. It's kind of like that. So like no, like when I started out, I just had a like story eyes of going into comic publishing. But the thing about like that I realize now that as a Swedish comic artist, I would have to do a certain type of comics that I wasn't doing at the time. But it was basically comics itself that made me realize like, hey, I can actually make money of it.
As well as like illustrating everything, do you enjoy the writing process as well?
Oh yeah, I think it's fun because I always try to like make people smile, even if it's like a really goofy scene, like a really dark scene. Like I had this one character, the goblin character that I used as my avatar, dying at some point, and I made a like I made a poop joke somewhere, and it was like a really sad scene, and people were really depressed. People wrote to me like, "Oh no, please don't kill her," and I wrote some text like, "Oh, she has died" and stuff, and then she came back, and like it's like I enjoy making people smile, like no matter what. I think that's like why my brother just called me a trickster for so many years, because I I do one thing and I never make it too serious, and that's what I kind of like go with my fan comic, that, like I said, it's the Great Lake Avengers of the Gatewatch.
What is your favorite overall piece that you've created so far, or pieces?
Yeah, I think my favorite pieces right now is like if I have a series of pieces, it's the ones I made on my 5 main Sandwalker. Like they're called Sandwalkers when they're like Planeswalkers made by fans usually. Like the 5 main characters I have. Like I did this. I can't remember why I did it, but I wanted to do something for myself, so I did it, and it got really popular, and people liked it, And as a singular piece, I have this snake. Like it's this big cobra thingy with like an oasis on top of it, like water running about, and I don't know if you've seen it. Like it's definitely one of those pieces that means a lot to me, because it started out with an idea that went through all the way to the end, like with no changes or anything.
That's the giant cobra, and it's like you're looking up at it from the dunes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's this guy with a camel. And it was actually meant for a 5/4 snake token, for Rona's Lost Sand. And I was like, oh my god, now that card is probably going to see play or something like that.
Yeah.
Fatal push,
I love that piece. The scale, like you showing scale in that is just phenomenal, because scale is a really hard thing to capture well, and you did it just perfectly in that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, it's like, it means a lot to hear, I may sometimes, like on my my blogs or something, may appear like someone who is like ignoring all the praise or anything, but like I'm mostly sitting crying with joy hearing people enjoy it,
It's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I call me weird, but I'm like you. I never get tired of people like saying something that I created was cool. Like sometimes
it means so much.
Yeah,
like, it's so
sometimes
nice.
It's tiring when people are just like, oh, you're this and this could be improved on. And I love constructive criticism for sure. That's how you grow. But I never get tired of attaboys either. So
yeah, I agree.
Would you ever want to create anything for Wizards of the Coast proper?
Yes, like it's been going on back and forth in like if I wanted to do it or if I don't want to do it, but I definitely would say like because I'm going back and forth on it, I would say like yes, I would love to do something for Wizards of the Coast, just because then I know a lot of people would probably smile, because I would probably do something like really, like I would give it my all, like trying to make people enjoy it. I've had friends of mine like tell me like, oh, if you ever make a Magic card, I'm gonna play it, even if it's a bad limited card,
It's an old man reference, but it's like when Les Claypool from Primus auditioned for Metallica when they needed a bassist. I feel like you're kind of in a different level. But I mean, there are some fantastic artists, you know, like Magali is great, and Seb McKinnon's killing it, and everyone had. But I think that the diverse eye of what you bring to the table would be just a breath of fresh air and like a really cool creative injection into the arm of
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. What are your short-term and your long-term plans in content creation?
Basically, like my long-term would be, you know, trying to make people smile as much as possible, you know. Like I would want to really be able to create something every day, you know, make something every day. So because again, my goal is always to make people enjoy stuff, you know, and I have the freelance work on the side, you know, and people like I'm kind of swamped right now in freelance work, so that's good, you know. But I think like in general, I want to be on the track I am right now. As of like currently, I have a plan with my partner of having her move here within 2 years, and I think like that's my #1 goal right now. And I'm kind of like, I would say that I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of like the comfort I have isn't like maybe I can't just do free stuff all the time. That's kind of like why I'm been pushing Patreon a bit more, just because I want to be able to afford having her here, like having her move here, and we're planning on like buying a not a house but an apartment and stuff like down here in my town.
And she's an artist as well, correct?
Yeah, she is. She's really great. She was actually like I remember I saw her art at some point. I saw this Thopter and I just like, oh, that's cute. And you know, later on we met via she was like opening commission for a charity thing, and I bought a commission just because, you know, hey, it's for charity and it's a good artist. And you know, eventually one thing led to another, and she has been visiting me a lot, and we're really happy together.
That is awesome. What a cool story.
It's a nice story. It makes me smile.
Ishton, we have come to the point of the episode, or it's the game. Face the D20. He has a spin down. He's going to roll the D20, and each one of the numbers correlates to a non-magic related question. So we get to know even more about the man behind the cards and the paintbrush. So, sir, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Let's roll.
Roll when ready.
18.
Number 18. So that is your favorite TV series of all time.
Oh, real hard one. Is it a cheapskate if I like say any sort of like anime or something like that?
No, yeah, it's you.
Like the thing is, like, I usually watch a lot of like stuff on the side when I'm arting, and I tend to like want to have something that has a good flow in it. And I think that like the best show I watched in terms of like being able to work at the same time is Hunter x Hunter, which has a really amazing way of telling. Like if anyone like hears this like in I recommend like reading up on it and reading up like who the artist is and everything like that, who created it. Otherwise, it's like the cheap answer, like Game of Thrones. I think is like the one, the one that's like, oh, it's also like fun to watch. You know, it's what my brother said, like it's brain dead entertainment. You know.
Yeah, kind of. Well, and you must be excited because I mean, of the recording of this, I think the new episode of the first episode of the final season just aired like 2 nights ago. So
yeah, I did. I actually bought a pizza and sat down and watched it. That's good.
All right, sir. Roll again.
17. Look at my high rolls.
We're going backwards. Your favorite book series?
Ooh, that is really hard because I rarely read books. That's actually like really hard.
You can do comics too, if that's.
Comics is probably easier because again, like I think like the amount of books I've read is actually on my fingertips. Like, you know, like it's less than my fingers, and I can actually like. The reason why I don't really like reading books is because I have dyslexia, which, you know, makes it a bit harder. But that's why like I went into comic books a bit more.
Sure.
Because you know, the imagery and everything. I think like my favorite comic book series would be again, it's like one of those, hey, look at me, I love anime and manga, but despite it all, I think that One Piece actually has like one of the best arcs of any comic. As a matter of fact, this is a fun fact. Like honestly, a couple of years ago, Watchmen was the most read comic in all of the world, but right now One Piece is.
Wow.
And it's still going strong. And the reason why is because One Piece is still sold in countries that usually don't take in manga. Like Sweden, we stopped our manga program some years ago and really don't take in the same amount we did. But like the thing about One Piece is that sure, it has like really problematic thematics at times, but it has some amazing writing and character development. So again, like I would say, if you want to read, oh no, wait, I think I know one. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is also one. Actually,
Which one is that?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, okay.
That is actually like one I realized, but the reason why I didn't bring it up is because I haven't read it in a while. Like One Piece is like one of those like, oh, it's going on for a long time and it has a great story arc and stuff. But I would say that the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has some of like the weirdest writing I've seen in my entire life. My older brother was I read the manga, and my older brother was watching the anime on Crunchyroll, and he just told me at part 3 in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like, nobody is a good guy. Everyone's an asshole, you know. Like nobody's nice. Like they're the most horrendous people you could ever meet, but you love them, you know, because they're goofy characters. So I would say like between JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and One Piece, I would say like one of those is like my favorite. I think the winner is JoJo's actually.
So it's like the Game of Thrones of comic books. Everyone's an asshole. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but imagine like. Trust me, if you look up JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like just look up any synopsis and you're gonna go, okay, I see what Ishton meant.
Nice. You have time for one more roll, sir?
Absolutely.
All right.
19. Look at
19.
me.
Wow, what a cluster. 18,
Yeah.
17, and 19. What is this is interesting. You're an international man. So what is your culinary triforce? Your perfect breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Ooh, I really like porridge.
Oh,
as
okay.
a breakfast. Yeah. Like I really like porridge with some toast and caviar, like Kalles caviar. And this is a thing, this is a meme, as in like people around the world hates Kalles caviar, except for the northern Swedish people and, you know, Denmark and stuff. It's only in Scandinavia we like Kalles caviar. I think like I usually skip lunch. I usually just take some coffee. And then for dinner, I tend to, you know, either bake or cook some moose-related dish, because my father actually is a hunter. And, you know, I've gotten some flack recently that I haven't brought the... Basically, I have a half of a moose in my parents' fridge, like a freezer. So they're kind of angry that I haven't picked it up yet. And anything with meat, like anything moose related with meat, you know.
I've never had moose, so generally eat like a cow steak.
We try to eat a cow at some point, like try to make taco out of cow, and it's not the same. Like it's completely different, you know.
Oh wow!
you can't live till you tried moose.
Now I want to go eat something with you.
Oh yeah, I would love to cook.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome. All right, so let's face the D20, sir. Or how do you feel? You survived.
Oh, it was amazing. I had really fun. You know, it was really relieving to be moving my face on camera for once.
Perfect. Any upcoming projects or that you could tease or spoil for the audience?
I mean, the comic I have is like always, you know, I'm trying to make a sort of cliffhanger with each page. But I do have this big project, sort of like personal project, since I can't talk about too much of the freelance work since it's under NDA and stuff. But I have this big personal project that's gonna be like sort of like my travel through the magic, my years as a magic artist, like magic fan artist, you know. And hopefully people are gonna be excited and enjoy it, make it smile.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. That is awesome. Lundell, also known as Ishton, thank you so much for planeswalking in from such a great distance. Sir, where can everyone find you?
I have my Twitter, where it's just Ishton, and I have my let's see, I have my Patreon, which is Ishton Art at Patreon, along with my Twitch, which is also Ishton Art, and I'm a Lundell on Cardamajigs and on Inked Gaming, I think. So like it's generally out there. Like if you find my Twitter, you're gonna find like everything else. So it's like Ishton on Twitter.
Head over to Fishin and Merfolk podcast to see all of your art.
Oh yeah, Cody do like to show off my stuff, and that makes me really happy.
That's so awesome. All right. Well, you could find me on this very channel. We said you could also head on over to cardsphere.com. They are simply the best place to buy, sell, and trade your paper Magic the Gathering cards online. You could also head on over to inkedgaming.com, enter promo code Hive Mind MTG to receive 10% off your purchase. If you would like to directly support this channel, head on over to Patreon, become a patron, and do so. You get your name in the lights, you get to ask questions to guests on some shows, all that good jazz. But until next time, Planeswalkers, I'll see you all in the multiverse.